The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 1 hour.
Thank you, sir. For the purpose of debate only, I yield the customary 30 minutes to the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Polis, pending which I yield myself such time as I may consume. During consideration of this resolution, all time yielded is for the purpose of debate only. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection.
House Resolution 679 provides for consideration of H.R. 56, a bill to repeal the 2.3% excise tax on medical devices enacted as part of the President's health care law. It also provides for a structured rule for consideration of H.R. 5882, the Legislative Branch Appropriations Act. The legislative branch appropriations rule is typically the only structured rule in the appropriations process, and we are continuing that bipartisan tradition here today. We are voting here today to stand up for more than 423,000 American employees and the health of millions that their work protects. A new $29 billion new tax on medical devices, passed as a part of the President's health care package, threatens to stifle innovation in the health care industry. If medical device manufacturers are punished with this new tax, we are all punished. Our health is punished. Our parents' health is punished. Our kids' health is punished. Yesterday, I talked with one of my constituents, Dan Denson, who owns a medical device company in Summerville, South Carolina. He shared 2 concrete examples of how this new tax will hurt his company, the healthcare industry, and most importantly, it will hurt those in need of medical care. For Dan's home health company, the profit margin is about 10%, just 10%. That profit is used to pay their employees, improve technology, and expand when it's needed. So if you cut into it by 2.3%, you're cutting into their ability to create better devices that then provide better care for patients. As Dan put it, I assure you that any additional impact to our cash flow will reduce the money available for innovation. Dan also talked to me about his fellow medical device companies who make the hoses for oxygen tanks and other devices, which make life bearable for so many Americans. They are absolutely dependent on these devices. And what happens when we add a 2.3% tax to these smaller companies? Well, these companies work on a margin of around 3%. So you don't have to be a math major to figure out that when you have a 3% profit margin and you have a new 2.3% tax, you are pretty close to zero. You simply cannot afford to run a business in this environment. You certainly cannot start a new business in that environment. We're not only hurting our medical device companies, but we're also discouraging new entrepreneurs and innovators from being able to enter the ring. I felt it was so important to share Dan's thoughts today, as it shows in clear terms how this new tax will not only affect Americans' wallets, but it could impact the health of Americans throughout this country. If our medical device manufacturers cannot continue to adapt and move forward with new and better technologies, our medical care system will slow down right alongside it. Because of innovation, life expectancy in the United States has increased by more than 3 years from 1986 to 2000. And the burden of chronic diseases, representing more than 70% of the overall health care cost, has been reduced. This tax affects devices ranging from cardiac defibrillators to artificial joints to MRI scanners, or in plainer terms, the very devices that identify and treat patients in their time of need, and even those devices that could save lives. These days, technology is improving every single day. Why in the world would we want to put our innovators at a disadvantage? Why in the world would we want to take another $29 billion worth of investments out of our futures and out of our healthcare industry and put it in the hands of this government? There's no good answer to these questions, and there's no good reason for another new tax. Once again, Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of this rule and the underlying legislation. I encourage my colleagues to vote yes on the rule and yes on the underlying bill, and I reserve the balance of my time.